And now let's begin with major equities in Africa, where sentiments were negative at intraday. Nigeria's NGX traded in negative territory, 0.13% down. We see penny stocks dominating trade in terms of top gainers and top losers. The big guys probably is very hiding right now. So we see South Africa also down at intraday, 0.05%. And elsewhere, we see Egypt's EGX is closed for national holiday, but it ended Wednesday trade in the red. And, as analysts expected, is well below the 26,000 level that was projected. We'll probably be seeing more declines for that exchange. Now, we see expectations are also high for Kenya's stock market as it turns bullish. The index closed Wednesday's session in the green, 0.38% up. As these sentiments come in, the NSE has witnessed a remarkable growth, recording a substantial 22.97% increase in the first quarter of this year. Now, let's check out activities at the fixed income market. Let's bring in Chuka Nwachuku, is the Group Head, Asset and Liability Management, UBA. Hi, Chuka. It's good to have you on the program.
Good afternoon.
Chuka, let's quickly delve into the results from yesterday's Treasury bills primary market auction, where we saw an oversubscription, yes, of over 254%. Can you walk us through the details of that auction and why we are seeing this strong demand?
Well, thank you, Viol. Like you might rightly mentioned, we saw oversubscription of, well over 700 billion. In fact, to be precise, 725 billion. Was the oversubscription from offer of 142 billion. However, about 333 billion was sold. The stop rate remained the same, 20.7 from the last auction. The interest is there. However, what has hampered the interest, especially in terms of oversold, in terms of sales, was the fact that the system liquidity has played a major role in the fixed income market. The system has been in deficit of well over 1 trillion. Though fact came in there yesterday, but then that didn't do much to alleviate the tightness in the system, and so that's what kind of like affected the auction. Yes, this is a good level to buy. A yield of 20.7. In fact, anything above 19% for 1 year, is a good yield and a good is a cue. Let me use the word for investors.
Fantastic for the NTB auctions. We'll look forward to other auctions that will be taking place. But we're seeing that the total demand for Treasury bills in the first quarter stood at about 21 trillion naira. Second quarter, as we mentioned, there's an oversubscription. It appears to be kicking off strong, but should we expect similar trend in the second quarter as we saw in the first quarter?
Yeah, if you look at government deficit that is well over about 9 trillion, is obviously indicate that the government is looking to borrow more. And so, obviously, government is not hasn't exploited the international market yet. So everything is still within the local market, and that's why we've seen, this huge suspicion. In second quarter, for example, the quarter you just mentioned, well over 6 trillion, was sold in the market, and that gives you an idea of what government is looking to. The level of the participation government has, and in terms of trying to meet this deficit. To the question of if we expect it the next quarter, I think that if you look at the last auction, you see that gradually government, DMO and CBN is beginning to reduce the amount sold. For example, the last auction before this, well over 900 trillion was sold, and this one was just about 300 trillion. So I think that government, I believe that they obviously has met or are almost close to their target, and so that will let us seeing a little bit of reduction in terms of what is being sold, and that also will also tell you in terms of rates, which stood at the same level. Irrespective of the fact that liquidity is quite tight. And so for me, I think that going into into this next quarter, we see downward trend in the yield. By the time the part of the strategy put in place by the CBN begin to kick in, I'm hopeful that the next inflation figures will thin down a little bit, and then we'll begin to see some of these effects. So that will that obviously has we show you that the government has met part of their demand, and then this will going forward we probably might not see the 1 trillion offer or 1 trillion sold.
So what instruments are market players looking at as we speak, and what end of the curve are they playing at?
I think on the bond side, 2034 has been very active, irrespective of the fact that the system liquidity is tight, but we've seen bullish sentiment in the 2034. On the T-bills side, for example, we've seen a lot of bullish sentiment in the 1 year. The 1 year, like I mentioned, they came out at 20.7, and so it's currently trading around the 19 levels. So a lot of interest is on the longer, on the 2034, on the bond side. Many of this interest is basically, before now, many of the interest is basically on the local side, the PFAs, guys, and other. But then the APIs are beginning to come in, and so we're beginning to see some of this huge interest in the bond. But for now, liquidity is playing a major role, and that has actually affected bullish sentiment in the market, and also affected the yield curve as well.
Thank you so much, Chuka Nwachukwu, Group Head, Asset and Liability Management, UBA, for sharing your insights on Business Incorporated.
Thank you.